Since in the last session we have learned that how you can think of customizing the template of your Ploty chart that you have. So let's understand how you can think of updating the layout of your Ploty chart that you have. So the moment I say, okay, this is a simple pie chart that we have in context of booking table feature. It means wherever it is yes, it typically means that people opt for just to book a table. Wherever it is no, it means people are not interested in the booking table. So imagine I have to update the layout of this pie chart. So as we have learned that graph objects, graph objs has more customization property than Plotly Express. In most of the instances, I'm not saying in all the instances, but in general, the problem statement that you have at the end of the day, if you need to customize a plot so that you will end up getting more meaningful conclusions, you have to either go with the OBJs, graph OBJs, or Express. But in most of the instances, you will end up using this OBJs. So first and foremost, let's try to create a pie chart using Go. So using Go, if I say that, okay, what I need pie chart. So this is the pie function in order to create a pie chart. Look at this. This is all about a signature. What are all the parameters that you can play with that? Again, it's not a rocket science. It is extremely simple. So if I say that, okay, what are the labels that we have to pass with? Let me show that. Okay. If I'm not wrong, I think the parameter is labels. Let me cross check that. Okay. Yeah. The parameter is labels. So I will say as my labels are nothing but all the indexes we have over here. These are all the labels. So I will say as, okay, let's create one more parameter as labels. Let's assign all the labels, and I will say labels equals to labels. It means this labels will receive a value from this list what you have defined. Again, for those of you who are getting confused, you can say as, okay, let's create a list as labels. Sounds good. Similarly, let's create one more list. Let's say as value. So in this value, again, here we have a very interesting parameter. I think, okay, it is values. Let me cross check that. Yeah, it is values. So in this values, we have to mention all the values. So if I say that, okay, value equals to all these things, I will say values equals to value. Again, let me show that. The moment I will execute this line of code, and again, very first, let me store it somewhere else. Because look at this, you will end up getting a key error. Again, you will end up getting a name error, which says that there is no name label is defined in the block of code what you have written. Because as we haven't executed this line of code, that's why it is returning a name error. So first and foremost, let's try to execute the above line of code. And whatever it will return us, let's store that in, let's say, trace object. Let me execute that. And if I say that, okay, let's try to showcase it using iPlot. So if I say that, okay, iPlot of trace. This is a simple pie chart, not rocket science. Now let's try to customize it. So in order to customize that, you have to use a very handy thing. Which is by, if I'm not wrong, I think it is figure. Okay, this is a figure. So using this figure function, what you can say is, okay, can I customize my trace? So here I will say as, okay, data equals to trace. And let's store this in my figure. I will say let's store this in my figure. Cool. Let me execute this line of code. Now, whatever figure you have, on top of this, you can think of calling something crazy, which is my update layout. So if I say that, okay, update underscore layout, this is the function that you can think of. And if I will press shift plus tab over there, look at this. Here we have to mention the dictionary. So let's say the pie chart that you have, let's say you have to make this visualization more bigger in size. Let's say you have to make visualization more bigger in size. Let's say this is a use case, or let's say this is a problem statement you have. Can you make your visualization more bigger in size so that, let's say you have 100 slices. Imagine there are 100 slices in a pie chart. So in these type of instances, it is always good to make your pie chart more bigger. That's where you can think of customizing it. That's where you can think of updating that. So over here, we have a very interesting parameter, which is my margin. So what I see is I will say margin in margin, we have to mention the data in the form of dictionary, because as we have learned that whatever we have to mention in the form of dictionary. So inside this dictionary, first, again, the moment I say that dict of this, it means I'm just going to initialize my dictionary. That's it. So here I have to mention data in the form of margin. I will say t equals to 0. It means from top margin is 0. Then I will say b equals to 0. It means bottom is 0. Then I will say L equals to 0. It means from left it is 0. Then I will say R equals to 0. It means from right margin is 0. Now after updating all this stuff, let's call show again. I will say fig.show, because the moment I call a show function, I will say whatever figure you have or whatever manipulation you have done on top of the figure by updating the layout, can you showcase that figure? Can you showcase that? And if I will execute this line of code, look at this. Your pie chart gets bigger in size. Let's say I have to play with some more customization properties. So let's say I will say, okay, here let's say I can say, okay, the moment I hover my mouse on top of this slice, let's say what I need is I need a value, I need a labels, I need all this stuff in form of percentage. Let's say I need all the things. So here we have a very interesting parameter, which is my hover underscore information. Look at this. This is my hover information. The moment I press shift plus tab over there, let me show that where we have. Yeah, this is that. Let me scroll it to below and let me have an eye on the documentation. It is saying that, okay, it determines which trace information appear on the hover. Means the moment you place your mouse cursor on top of any slice, it determines that which trace information should be appear. So if I say that hover info is equals to nothing but label plus percent. And if I will again execute this line of code, let me again execute that and let me again execute that. Now if I will hover it, look at this. We have a value as yes and 13.1%. Because as we have mentioned that what I need is I need a label along with whatever I have. It means the slices size I need in the form of percentage. That's why we have end up getting the values as yes and 13.1. Let's say I need a text. Okay, with respect to this slice, what is the value? So I can think of very interesting one, which is my text info. I can say, okay, let's return the value. Let me again execute, and let me again execute that. Now look at this. Here we have a value, which is exactly in the form of text. So these are couple of customization properties that are most often used in the real. Again, for those of you who are getting confused, kindly utilize the Q&A. Feel free to hesitate with us. That's all about it. Thank you. Have a nice day. Keep learning, keep growing, keep practicing.